Welcome to part 2 of my first time rigging experience. I went through how Live2D works in part 1, so we're going to pick up the pace with this one. Let's go! Where were we? Now we have one working eye. I copy-pasted it to the other side. My model have heterochromia, so I copied everything other than the iris. Just select the parts, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, right-click, and reflect. Only select the X-related parameters here. I shouldn't reflect eyeball Y. You can see how I messed up the highlight, but that's okay. Ctrl+Z to undo and reflect it again. Second time's the charm. I verified that everything is still working as intended, renamed my copied layers, and dragged the golden pupil to the copied IR deformer. I just had to change the draw order of the golden pupil so it's drawn on top of the new eye. The draw order is pretty self-explanatory and is only changeable at each keyform. It's grayed out otherwise. Now we have both eyes. No more uncanny valley. Everything disappeared all of a sudden. What happened? Panic! I found out that I somehow clicked off the view icon of the root folder. No idea how that happened, but glad it was fixed. Rigging the eyebrows was pleasant. The brow Y parameter raises and lowers the brow, and the brow form changes the brow from happy brows to angry brows. I just put a deform path on the art mesh, and the brows deforms exactly the way I wanted. Brows done in the blink of an eye. The mouth is a lot trickier than the brows. It has two parameters, like the eyebrows, but I need to make much more complicated movement. We have mouth open and mouth form parameter. There are many charts circulating online telling me how to rig it. They all seem convincing, but different at the same time. And I just didn't know who to trust. So I went into VTube Studio and see for myself how it tracks my mouth. So how did it go? Well, I was tracking with Android at the time, and VTube Studio looks at my neutral face and thinks I'm at -0.5. It's sad that VTube Studio thinks that I'm always making a slightly unhappy face, but now I know to rig my neutral mouth form at -0.5. I also noticed that Android VTube Studio can't track my actual unhappy face at all. It just stays at the same value as neutral. So I know having just one keyform for unhappy is good enough. I can set it up as a toggle if my future iPhone can't track it either. If you are rigging your own model, I suggest making your own chart with the tracking device you'll use. Once I got my iPhone, I had to change my neutral mouth to -0.2 because that's what the iPhone thinks my neutral mouth is. So now we have a rough idea of the chart. To the actual rigging. I know there's going to be a lot of detail movements with the lips, so I created a super dense art mesh. I started with mouth open, only rigging the lips and using myself as a reference the whole time. That was easy enough. Now to the mouth forms. Changing mouth forms when mouth is closed? Easy enough. Now changing mouth forms when the mouth is open. That's tricky. The corners of the mouth needed a lot of adjusting to look right. I guess that's why I see people separating the lips and the mouth line. It will be easier to rig that way. The lips looks way better once I turn the inside of my mouth back on. The inside of the mouth is easy. There's not much movement. I just need to make sure my upper teeth doesn't move with my mouth. I even added jaw movement when my mouth opens. I glued my jawline to my face so they move together. To glue art meshes together, select the art mesh, click on edit manually, add points, select points to glue, and press bind. Oh, my face disappeared because the art mesh didn't include it. Easy fix. My mouth looks good enough for now. I will look into VBridger later. It will add a few more mouth parameters and utilize iPhone for a more accurate tracking. Merely Wufei just uploaded a really good VBridger mouth rigging tutorial. Go check it out. Another option is to have microphone volume and frequency affect your mouth open and smile parameters, which this Yuzufei video covers near the end. With the draw done, it's time to look at angle XYZ. Angle X is the head facing left and right, angle Y is the head facing up and down, and angle Z is the head tilting left and right. Finally, I can apply the math I learned in school to real life. I'm using a popular technique called Augmented Physics. To start, just create angle XYZ physics parameters and rig it as if it's the usual angle XYZ. I started with just the face angle XY. I created one deformer for all face and jaw art meshes. I try to use the center line on the deformer as a reference point for where my nose will be when facing left and right. This made the jawline very thin on one side and very wide on the other, but it's a price I'm willing to pay because I really didn't know what I was doing. I learned to use deformers instead of art meshes whenever I can because deformers can reflect motion. So if I rigged looking left on one side of the parameter, I can click on reflect motion and add looking right on the other side of the parameter. I added my neck shadow to the face and draw XY deformer so the neck shadow moves with the face. So far so good, right? Buckle up, it's all going downhill from here. I started with the eye angle X and angle Y. One deformer contains all the eye parts. Damn, this eye just looks so weird, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. That was a terrible joke, and guess what? It's not getting better with the nose. I used one deformer, nose angle XY, to move around the entire nose, and another deformer specifically for nostrils, so the nose looked more 3D when turning. I also added two keyforms just for the nose bridge to appear when turning my head. Now I'm Deadpool! No, the one from the Wolverine movie. Okay, it looks so off. I can't take it anymore. I took a screenshot to Photoshop and tried to draw out how she should look like from the side. That looks better than what I have, and more importantly, now I know the iris needs to stay the same size. You see, when I squeeze the eyes, it squeezes the iris too, and the left and right iris should always be the same size. Don't believe me? Just look at your own eyes in the mirror. After some trial and error, I created eyeball XY deformers at the bottom of the deformer chain and rigged it with eyeball X and angle X physics. This is probably not the best way to do it, but it's what I came up with. After some careful rigging, Deadpool here looks a lot better. What's even better is I sketched my VTuber on my iPad and figured out what exactly still looks so wrong. The face is too narrow for how wide it looks at the front. After adjusting, my face XY is finally coming together. While I was perfecting my eyes, I noticed the highlight art mesh is not in the highlight deformer. I tried to hold control to drag the deformer to the highlight, and that just messed up the deformer everywhere else. So if you see something like this, don't touch it. Just pretend it's fine and use it as normal. I then quickly did the angle XY for nose and brows. Both pretty straightforward after what I went through with the eyes. I made my face even wider. I think the width of the face needs to be roughly the same, moving left to right to look natural. I spent some more time tweaking, fixing angle XY corners since it got messed up again when I expanded the face. That took a solid hour to fix, but I finally have a face I'm happy with. Face XY is very important, okay? If a model's face XY looks weird, the model will look kinda low quality. In hindsight, I should have drawn the different angles first. Or better yet, find a 3D head model in Clip Studio or any 3D model selling website, or even Genshin Impact to use as reference. I used a white block with soft edges as invert clipping mask to block out jawline or face outline when I look up and to the side. This looks better without neck shadow. Let me ponder that while I tweak the eyes even more. I don't know how my brain works, but every time I look at my face, something new sticks out. The ears were easy because I already drew the ear in the side view, and I can just squeeze that in the right places to make it look like it turned. I rigged the bangs angle XY next. I have the face as a reference point for where the bangs should go, so a simple bangs XY deformer was good enough. In the future, I should probably separate the highlight on the bangs into its own layer. Right now, the highlight is in the same layer as the hair, so I can't make it move as the head moves like real hair highlights would. But that's the bangs done. I caught the hair right under the hair buns. Up hair, it's split into left side and right side. But honestly, I think I could get away with merging them together. Just the up hair XY deformer was not enough for a convincing rig. I had to key the art mesh with angle XY physics as well. Without the hair buns, it's hard to tell whether this up hair looks good. So I'll just leave it like this for now. I moved on to the side hair. If you watched my previous video, you know I want my side hair to look like what Himono have here. To do that, I plan to clip all 4 of my side hairs to a clipping mask, so when I turn my hair, the texture shows up one by one from the edge of my head. But in practice, I realized that I don't have a lot of hair to work with. My side hair only goes from behind the ears to back of my head, while Himono's hair goes from front of the face to back of the head. Or so I thought. It turns out I was just subconsciously making excuses for myself. I started with the belief that I can't have hair like kimonos. I activated Angle XY physics for each side hair art mesh and used deform path edit on the side hair so they spread like a hand of cards when I turn my head. My hair A got really distorted when I tried to turn it, so I gave it a more detailed art mesh at the distorted area and that fixed it. I glued my hair outline to the clipping mask so my hair always have an outline. The outline worked just as I imagined, but it felt a little too dark for my hair, so I lowered its opacity. Side hair done. Hi, this is editing Ceilvia. The side hair doesn't look 3D at all. I can't just let it be. I want my hair like kimono's hair. So I spread my first two side hair A and C out to cover hair D and hair B and made sure hair D and hair B shows up in order when I turn my head. The left side of my head is the old rig and the right side is the new rig. As you can see, now it looks a lot more 3D and closer to what I wanted in the beginning. The moral of the story: don't say it's impossible without actually trying first. It's possible. I just have to stop imagining and start doing. Alright, hair buns. I really didn't know what to expect from the hair buns. I wasn't able to find any VTuber showcase with properly turning hair buns. Usually the hair buns don't turn, they're just a flat image moving with the head. I drew 4 extra braid parts to show when the buns are turned. I hope they'll look good, fingers crossed. I carefully meshed the buns. I need to do a lot of deformation, so the art mesh needs to be dense. I put all my right bun parts into a deformer. I used the deformer to move the entire hair bun and make rough perspective changes, and use each art mesh to make more detailed edits. The buns and the up hair texture are not really moving together. I added more points to the up hair art mesh so I can drag that dark texture out. That's much better. This is when I wish I know Blender, because I had a hard time imagining how the bun will move with angle XY. Does it turn and reveal more braids? Or does it just move and turn a bit? But whatever I have here looks convincing enough for me. What do you think? I made the buns more out and down when I look up because that's how I rigged the up hair. I thought that made sense at the time, but really I should have changed the up hair to match the buns, not the other way around. Okay, that's good enough for government work. Moving back to the side hair, I have this under hair piece that I totally forgot about. It was supposed to be for when I look up, but honestly, I feel like my hair has so many layers that I don't need it. But since I drew it, might as well add it in. I adjusted the purple hair background as well, so it moves better with all the other hair. My half the hair looks so good. Let's make it a full hair. I copy pasted all my hair just like how I did with the eyes. I did have to glue the side hair clip again, make sure everything has the correct jaw order, and rig the right hair strand since my left and right hair strands are different. Moving on to angle Z. Here you can see how I tried 3 times to successfully create a parent deformer. Apparently I just need to select the child object. I didn't need to select the grandchildren. I'm using a rotational deformer. This is like a warp deformer, but it rotates instead of warp. Hold down Ctrl to drag the center of rotation to the right place. Also hold down Shift if you want to drag in a straight line. And head Z done! Just kidding, I need to rig the neck and hair as well. I modified my neck art mesh for easier rigging and used myself as reference again. I had to stretch the neck shadow at some points because I didn't draw it long enough. The neck still looks kind of weird, so I used myself as a reference again and changed the center of the head tilt to be a bit below the mouth. Neck done. I used the deformer that has all the side hair part in it to rig my hair for angle Z. I only deformed the end of the hair a little, so I'm surprised it looks so good. And I rigged angle Z for my hair background and bangs as well. Angle Z done. Now the augmented physics I mentioned in the beginning of angle XY. Here's how this is going to work. VTube Studio will track my head motion and translate that into angle X, Y, and Z values, right? Using angle X as an example, in physics settings, I will use angle X as the input parameter and use the angle X physics parameter we rigged as output. The input type will be angle, so when angle X increases, angle X physics will also increase, swing a little, and stay there. When I turn my head now, my head will overturn a little and go back to the intended position. This makes my model looks more alive. This little overturn actually matches with the follow-through principle in the 12th principle of animation. I can observe this behavior in my head when I turn my head fast. Here's my final input, output, and pendulum settings for angle XYZ. Feel free to copy it. After testing in VTube Studio, which I forgot to record, I noticed I didn't rig my inner mouth for angle XY, so let me just do that. A lot of my mouth part art meshes are already keyed to the mouth parameters, but a new deformer seems to be good enough for inner mouth. I drew my upper teeth with a curve, and that curve does look a little weird with angle X up close, but from afar it looks okay. One deformer fixed the inner mouth. That's lovely. Up next, earrings. Oh wait, of course I started with noticing some copy-pasted parts draw order is wrong, but I did discover that I can select multiple art meshes and change their draw order at the same time. Nice. I still have to do it at each keyform, but that saved me a lot of time. Okay, earrings. Angle XY for the earrings is just a deformer moving with the head. Angle Z is just a rotational deformer turning the earring at the pin. They look beautiful in physics settings. Why am I so good at this? Bang! Physics time. I know I said I want the bangs to be glued to the forehead like Lisa's, but I think it wouldn't hurt to just have a little bit of jiggle. For angle X, I set up two deformers, X1 and X2, and created a parameter for each deformer. X1 will swing the middle part of the bangs left and right, and X2 will swing the bottom end of the bangs left and right. Now the bangs are swinging a tiny bit when my head turns left and right. Now for angle Y, I added two deformers again called Y1 and Y2. Each deformer has a parameter bang Y1 and bang Y2 activated for it. For bang Y1, I did expand and contract vertically, and for bang Y2, I did expand and contract horizontally, similar to what I did with the eyes. I discovered this super useful temporary deform tool in modeling, temporary deform tool, temporary path deformation. It works like a temporary deform path edit tool on deformers. I used this to make sure the bottom half of my bangs expanded more than top half in bang Y1. So there's my bangs. It's so jiggly. I love it. I did my hair physics the same way as my bang physics. The hair is longer though, so I have 3 angle X related deformers and parameters instead of 2. This time, I like to select points on the deformer and just rotate and move it by holding shift. It's the fastest way to get what I wanted. I grouped side hair B with the rest of the side hair stuff because they're all at the back of the head and I don't want too many deformers slowing down my laptop. Here's my final physics setup for hair X. I prefer this, but there's another method to do hair physics called skinning. It's a bunch of rotation deformers chained together. If you're interested, there are tutorials on YouTube. My hair Y physics is set up exactly the same as bang Y physics, except I only contract and expand the bottom part of the hair because I think the roots of the hair shouldn't move that much. After I copy pasted my side hair to the other side, here's my hair Y physics settings and how hair X and Y looks together. Earring physics was simple. My earrings moves like a pendulum so it doesn't bend. Therefore, I only need one earring X rotational deformer with a parameter for swinging left and right. I don't even need a Y parameter. I duplicated the existing earring Z rotation deformer so all my earring rotations starts at the same center point and just did a simple swing left and right. The physics took me a while. I wanted the earrings to swing for as long as possible because it's a pendulum. And this is what I have. Looks cute, eh? I was just clicking stuff and I noticed my tiny stars doesn't have an art mesh, but I can still see it. Tiny stars is all the smallest white dots on my shirt. I tried to add the art mesh back, but the art mesh disappeared. Okay, I'll try again. This time it worked, but the tiny star layer is not responding to show and hide layer. Instead, it looks like it's merged with the nebula layer? What happened? I was very confused. I should have recorded it, but basically in Texture Atlas, somehow tiny stars overlapped entirely with nebula. So I managed to separate them in Texture Atlas. I thought that would fix it. No. Tiny stars is just gone now. The art mesh I created for tiny stars is still here. Nebula is still working fine, but not tiny stars. I tried to re-import my PSD file, didn't work. In the end, I had to duplicate my PSD file, delete everything other than tiny stars, and import this new PSD as additional files. Just wanted to show you guys what would happen when you use the wrong texture at last for your model. Look at me! I'm so pretty. Oh my god. Yeah, so that's what happens when you update your texture at last and totally forgot about replacing it in VTube Studio. Wanna see booba physics and animation? Check out part 3.